We studied a population that just transitioned into secondary school. And we know that this is a moment, we see that in the Netherlands, but also in the US, that student engagement declines. And I wondered, why is that? And could one factor be that there's so much more emphasis on grades that students receive? It's getting more important, grading is more strict. So this was the reason I started the investigation. And I looked in how students responded to their first report card in secondary school. And at least in the Netherlands, this is like important or significant event to students, because the card they receive, they take it home, parents look at it, so they get responses. And what we found is that the height of the grades impacted how they emotionally responded to those grades. So when they received higher grades, they would report more positive feelings, less negative feelings. And this in turn predicted how engaged they were in the class, so during classroom activities. And we saw that the higher the grades, the more positive the feelings and higher the school engagement. But you would hope as a teacher, then when you give a low grade, that students may think, oh, I need to work harder. But I found the opposite. So I found that for students who receive lower grades on their first report card, they actually declined in their school engagement across the year. So I think this may be a negative spiral emotion, like that they get negative performance feedback, feel less engaged, less effort in their schoolwork, and this could then lead to even lower performance. This could be one of the mechanisms where you see that a certain subset of students get more and more disengaged from school or less engaged in classroom activities. And then in the end, maybe people will say, yeah, but he's not engaged at all. So it makes sense that So that's what we found.
It's interesting because, as you stated, it seems like when you then assign a low grade, it's not fulfilling any of the purpose that hypothetically it's supposed to do, which makes me question, well, then why give a grade at all? Because if it's only going to hurt rather than help, because even then, like I would imagine, those students who were receiving high grades are probably terrified whenever they receive a low grade. I mean, I was that way when I was in school. I was not an all A student, but if I got like a D, I was floored. Like, that was terrifying. So what is your opinion based off of that research when it comes to assigning a grade at all?
So there's a lot of research showing that giving grades is detrimental for both motivation of students and performance. This is in experimental research, so classroom experiments where they compared students who received a group of students who received a grade versus no feedback, or a grade versus written comments. And over, this research shows that written comments, where there's actually feedback where students can work with, or they can improve their work, it's much better for their motivation, for their performance than grades. And there's also an interesting study in real life, a Swedish study, where they changed the school system. And this was, so half of the schools decided to stop giving grades and the other half didn't. And they compared the students, so those two groups of students, over several years. And they found that those students who were in a non-graded primary school, so primary school where no grades were given, they would perform better in secondary school and had a higher chance of finishing secondary school. And this was especially pronounced for those students who were low ability. So again, those students you really want to keep in, and you hope that they can improve. It helps them a lot if there are no grades given.